Hello, I'm Rudy Digilio. In 1978, I started to work here at Asbury Graphite in the building behind me, which is now slated to be taken down sometime in the next few weeks. Thought it might be interesting to give you a perspective on what it was like to work here and a little bit of the history of the building. It was actually built in 1939 as a shower room and a laboratory. When I started, there were 3 rooms on the top floor. One was my office, one was the lab area, and one was a small storage room for samples. And then below there was a restroom, and then the old lab, which had been maintained for some small processing. We didn't do much down there. We mostly kept samples there. So there was a dirty locker room and a clean locker room. So in the morning you would arrive, you would take off your street clothes, hang them in the clean side, go into the dirty side, put on your graphite clothes, and then leave. So you can see, originally there were 2 doors in the front of that building to accommodate those two lockers. And I often joke that sometimes the hardest work I did all day was getting myself clean. Because if using towels, if you missed a little square on your back, you went home with a little black square on your back. It was actually company policy that you were not to ever leave the property covered in graphite. It wasn't in good form for the community to see just how dirty that you got. It wasn't considered acceptable. The lab was pretty much a rough place to work. The records were kept on paper. There was very little formal quality system in place. Sometime in probably the late 70s or early 80s, Bendix came in to do an audit, and they felt that we needed to upgrade our system. And that started a whole cycle of improvements to the building, new cabinetry, new countertops, new analytical equipment, until that building, which I know it looks pretty rough today, was actually a very nice little lab. It was well laid out, it was well equipped, and I have to say I look back at those 9 years that I spent in there with very fond memories. So when I came to work, I almost always saw the sunrise, and the old steel bridge was still in place. So in the summertime, it was covered with cobwebs that would then get misted over, and it would be this beautiful show. And then in the winter, very often, it would be frosted over, and again, a beautiful show. In 1986, the bridges were replaced with new, and we realized that the building was environmentally not a very friendly place for the river. If you look down in the lower corner here, you'll see that opening, but all of the wastewater coming out of the building from the lab and the sinks and the toilet all went directly into the river, which was unacceptable. All the water that we used was pumped right out of the river. When I first started, first couple weeks, I'm going over to the sink and I'm drinking water out of the sink, until one of my coworkers said, "Did you just drink water out of that sink?" In the deep, dark days of the dirty Musconetcong, I was drinking Musconetcong River water on a regular basis. So in 1986, as this was all being torn up and replaced, the dams were changed. This side of the river was actually stopped during that construction. I had put together a report to management that noted the environmental issues with the building, and much to Asbury's credit, they immediately reacted by saying, "You're right, it's been long enough, we have to shut this building down." So in 1985, 86, we started planning what would become the new plant manager's office and quality lab on the other side of the river, which is a beautiful facility, and at the time was the most expensive building Asbury had ever built. And we then shut this building down. There was really no other use to the building after 1986. I had this beautiful river as the backdrop to my workday. I could hear it through my open window. It was just a very pleasant place to work. It's kind of mixed feelings that I see the building come down now.